Hey, what's up? In today's video, I'll share with you the most critical things you need to know before you sign any student loan agreement. This is so important. Don't make the mistake of not paying attention to these things. So I'll share with you the most important things that you need to know and ask questions about before you sign any student loan agreement. Let's get into it. If you're thinking about taking student loans in 2023, you need to pay attention to the things I'll mention in today's video. Even if you're just starting to think about the possibility of taking student loans, pay attention to these things I'll mention so you don't fall into the trap that so many people fall into. Number one, amount borrowed. You need to pay attention to the total amount they have on the loan agreement, so you are sure of how much they will give you or they will be providing throughout the duration of your program. Now, if you don't pay attention to that and you just check how much you get every year, that is not enough. They need to state that for the duration of your program, they would be providing up to they'll be providing $100,000 or $50,000. This is important because if the loan provider only provides for your first year and your second year, and maybe you're in a 3-year or a 4-year program, you are stuck. You have a problem. You would likely not be able to graduate. So you need to make sure on the loan agreement, the total amount is stated. Like even if it's a line of credit or whatever, just make sure the total student loan amount is stated there. That's like for the duration of your program, we will provide a total of this amount. That is so important so you don't start the program and midway you have debt and you still can't graduate. That is a really bad situation where you have loans already for the semesters you've completed, but you don't have enough for you to be able to graduate and you are just stuck at the middle. Don't make that mistake, so check for that. Another thing you should check is the disbursement date. So many loan providers disburse directly to your school, and so that is why this date is very important. They need to state something around they will send it to your school or they will provide the funds maybe some days before it is due or a week before resumption. They have to state the disbursement date. If they don't, that's a problem, because what happens for some people is their loan providers want to provide the cash, but for some reason they always send the cash later than they should. So if the due date for your fees or for your tuition is maybe 10th of September, some loan providers, if they have written in the loan agreement or if they are silent about the date, they will send the cash to your school later than they should have, and that way you will always incur late fees. And the school doesn't understand that, oh, it's not my fault, it's the loan provider's fault. No, you are responsible for your fees, and so they will bill that late fee or whatever penalty to you, and then you need to fund it. So however way you're going to pay the late fees or beg them to take it out, whatever that is, it is on you. So to avoid that situation, make sure you clarify with your loan provider and you check with your school to make sure your loan provider will disburse the loans before your tuition is due. That is so important and something you should look out for. So another thing, and probably the most important thing to check, is your interest rate. You need to really understand the breakdown of the interest rates. There's usually a fixed component and a variable component. That variable component sometimes could be a killer. So you want to make sure you understand the breakdown. Don't just say my interest rate is 9%. No, you need to know what portion of that is variable, because that 9% you have today could become 12% in the next couple of months if rates are crazy. You guys already know what we are going through in the world right now and everything about rates going up, especially in the United States. If you just need to make sure you pay good attention to the interest rate. You don't want to make that mistake, because there are different parts, and so you want to know what is the variable part of this interest rate pegged on. If it's pegged on LIBOR or prime rate, as those rates change, your interest rate will change. And so there could, of course, there's a huge difference between say 9% and 11% if you're taking a lot of like student loans. So pay attention to the interest, and where possible, negotiate your interest before you sign. Listen up, you guys may be thinking, she's always talking about negotiation. Yes, you need to negotiate, okay? You can talk to the loan provider and say, hey, is there a way, what can I do to bring some of these rates down? You know, because right now rates are high, and if you're taking on new student loans, chances are that you'll be paying very high rates compared to like what I paid 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So that's why you need to like pay attention to this. Know the fixed part of your interest rate, know the variable part of your interest rate. So another thing you need to check is the detail around how interest accrues. Please, 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 please make sure you check how interest accrues. Listen, there is no free money, okay? From day one that your student loan provider sends the cash to your school, from like day one of semester one of year one, you begin to incur interest. So you need to understand how interest accrues for that specific loan. Does it accrue daily, monthly? You just need to make sure you understand it, because some also like compound. So if you are taking on loans that have like compounding interest and all of that, it could really add up quickly. So make sure you understand, and whenever you don't understand any term in that loan agreement, you can always ask to speak with a representative from the bank or from the loan provider, and they are more than willing to speak with you, because like they know these are like important things, right? Every term in the agreement is important, but pay attention to these ones, like extra attention to these ones. Know how your interest accrues. That is so important. Know, like, you know, the implication of that, right? Understand that enough. So that's another thing to check in your loan agreement. Another thing you need to check is when payment is due, when the first payment is due. For some loan providers, nothing is due until after the day you graduate. But for some other providers, you have a 6-month grace period. Some have a 3-month grace period. And what that means is if you graduate today, you have an extra 6 months to figure out your life, and then your first payment is due 6 months after graduation or 3 months after graduation. So you really need to understand when payment is due. When do I begin to like default if I don't pay? That date may not be the day of your graduation. Some loan providers give you some time to get a job, to figure yourself out, to save something before you start paying. So you need to pay attention to that. And if that is not stated in your agreement, don't make any assumptions. Ask the loan provider and make sure anything that is important to you is documented in the agreement. So another thing you need to make sure you understand in your loan agreement would be penalties. You need to understand like what you will be penalized for. Some loan providers will penalize you for early payment. So if they say you need to start repaying maybe 5 months from now, and you got a lot of money, you've been blessed, and you want to start paying early, some loan providers actually penalize you for that. They charge you for paying early. So you want to make sure you check for that. So penalties, like when do you get penalized? When do you default on something? Those are usually stated. Make sure you read them and you understand them. Another thing you should really pay close attention to is special discounts and offers. So many loan providers would say something like, if you're able to set this loan repayment thing as automatic payments from your bank account or from your salary account, will give you an extra 0.something% off your interest, right? So you want to take advantage of all those things because they add up, okay? Anything you can get back, you know, take it, it adds up. So pay attention to special discounts or offerings they've stated in your agreement. Like if you set automatic payments, this is what will happen. If you do this, you can get another extra benefit. So pay attention to that so you can take advantage of all of that and end up, you know, getting lower and end up paying lower than you should have paid back. One last thing you also need to pay attention to is processing fees. But some providers these days don't have processing fees, but some other student loan providers have processing fees. And so you need to understand that, like, for every time they disburse, do they also charge a processing fee? Or how does it work? Is it a one-time processing fee at the beginning? You need to really understand that, because 1.5% of $200,000 in student loans is quite some money. So you need to make sure you understand some of those terms around processing fees, and where possible, if you have more than one option, if you've gotten loan offers from more than one provider, go with someone that doesn't have, go with a bank or a provider that doesn't have, that doesn't charge some of these processing fees. So I am not a lawyer, so this is not professional advice. So please consult your lawyer if you want professional, like, legal advice. But I'll just say those are the things I believe you should pay attention to, but I may have missed some others. So let me know in the comments, did I miss anyone? Any important part of a loan agreement, a student loan agreement, that you think people should pay attention to? Please drop a comment below, and we are all learning. So let me know what you guys think, and hope you liked today's video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Please click the like button, and also subscribe if you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. Okay, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.